Hello, Joseph Noy, founder and CEO of NeuGroup, checking in again from Miami. My good friend Ron Chakravarti from Citi, who heads their Treasury Advisory and Market Management team, invited me down here to do a workshop with him on managing tax and regulatory change as part of Treasury for the bank's 14th annual Latin America Finance and Treasury Conference this week. And we did a workshop with 4 sets of Citi clients over the 2 days here, and we presented some of the projects and priorities that we've seen in our respective client engagements. And because we share a similar multinational client base, we were largely in sync with those, and we got some validation from Citi clients on those priorities, as well as tied them back to some of the regulatory and tax drivers that lie behind them. So I wanted to share just a few key thoughts from the 2 days of workshop. One is really the validation of the findings that we had from our own LATAM peer group meeting a couple weeks ago, and that is the way that bank regulations are driving, are impacting global banks and their establishment of presence in the Latin American region. And Citi really has a great advantage in terms of geographic coverage in Latin America, as well as in many other parts of the world. And regulation will continue to reinforce that as it makes it more difficult for other banks to expand into additional markets. And there's probably a window of opportunity where Citi can solidify its position before other banks figure out through strategic alliances and technology, including extending their global bank networks through local banks in countries where they don't have physical presence, and as well as figuring out some of the KYC and other challenges around bank account management that make it very painful for Treasury operations managers to think about switching banks. So hopefully they'll make good on that window to provide more and better service to multinational clients in the Latin American region as well as elsewhere. The second point really has to do with tax change and tax reform globally. While U.S. multinationals are focused on U.S. tax reform, the ongoing tax changes under the umbrella of the OECD BEPS proposals are ongoing. And because of that, if you haven't done a review of your intercompany transactions, both with the in-house banking structure, if you have that, cash pooling or otherwise, and looking beyond loans to intercompany financial transactions, generally including royalties, it's probably a good time to do that. As one CFO from the region noted, that he thinks that this is going to be a big driver for companies and Treasury departments over the next few years. So that's something to keep on top of. And speaking of U.S. tax reform, one of the things that that introduces is the idea of a VAT-like tax under the border adjustment tax. And there was a treasurer from a company that has heavy retail operations in Central America that mentioned an increasing difficulty with withholding of VAT taxes in Central American countries on credit card payments, with uncertainty around when those withheld tax payments that will be returned. So I was thinking about creative solutions that you could approach the governments in those countries to give a date certain on when that money might be come back, which would open up securitization opportunities, for example, which points to the third idea that I wanted to share, and that's just how creative Treasury departments in Latin America are getting to use developments to their advantage. One treasurer mentioned the increasing standardization and introduction of electronic invoicing, which presents e-presentment opportunities. A lot of this is driven by tax departments in the various countries that are using this as a way to ensure tax collection by documenting transactions. But this standardization opens up increasingly opportunities for companies to standardize centralized payments and even collections with their shared service centers and maybe even payment factories. That's something to keep on top of as well as these standards proliferate and open opportunities. That's it from me, Joseph Noy, signing off from Miami. Thanks.